engines can be running. A little bit.
I was really hoping that Blake Shelton would bring back the sunshine about 6 hours ago, but the sound of the engines firing up is definitely worth it. We'll be back. NASCAR on NBC is brought to you by national mortgage lender Quicken Loans. Home buy, refi, power. Sprint, proud sponsor of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. And by Coca-Cola, the official soft drink of NASCAR. Coca-Cola, open happiness.
It's everything you've ever worked for. It's everything you've dreamed of.
Kevin Harvick is your 2014 Sprint Cup Series champ.
Once you get to this point of the chase, everybody's going to do anything that they can possibly do to get the Homestead.
The drive for 5 is still alive.
You're going to learn a lot about individuals and what they're made of, what they're capable of.
That is the ultimate goal right now, to race for a championship at Homestead.
3 spots, 7 drivers fighting for it.
Everybody realizes how important every lap, every moment really is.
Not only is the pressure intensifying, but the competition is.
The only thing you really can't control is your own destiny, and you've got to make it happen.
Who will join Jeff Gordon in Miami? Welcome back to the Quicken Loans 500 Race for Heroes. Phoenix International Raceway, renamed Jeff Gordon Raceway for this weekend. The starting grid is brought to you by Quicken Loans. Up in the front row, Jimmy Johnson and Kurt Busch. Kurt Busch has been fast all weekend in a must-win situation tonight.
And row 2, Dale Earnhardt Jr. has also been fast all weekend, and Carl Edwards, who comes into this race just outside the top 4.
Row 3, the 78 of Martin Truex, 7 points ahead of the cut line, and Kyle Larson, his best start in Phoenix, still looking for his first win.
Back in row 4, Eric Jones subbing for Matt Kenseth. He's a 2-time truck winner here, and Kevin Harvick. He's won the last 4 races here and 7 total Phoenix wins.
In row 5, we have Casey Kane looking for a good run, and Kyle Busch, who comes in 11 points ahead of the cut line.
Row 6, Jeff Gordon, a 2-time Phoenix winner, the only car here already locked into the season finale in Miami.
Back in row 7, Joey Logano starts 14th in a must-win situation if he wants to advance to Miami and the championship.
Row 8, we have a pair of RCR teammates, Paul Menard, Austin Dillon.
In row 9, we have Eric Almirola starting alongside Brad Keselowski. 19 points out. Mathematically not a must-win, but that must be his approach tonight.
Back in row 10, Roush Fenway Racing teammates Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Greg Biffle. Greg Biffle's best finish here, second, but he's done it twice.
In row 11, we have Danica Patrick and Ryan Newman, who won here in 2010.
In row 12, we have AJ Allmendinger and Casey Mears. Casey Mears just signed an extension with the team this week.
In row 13, Justin Allgaier and Trevor Bayne. Trevor Bayne, the 2011 Daytona 500 winner.
Row 14, we have Clint Boyer, Sam Hornish Jr.
In row 15, we have David Reagan and Matt DiBenedetto.
Back in row 16, Tony Stewart and Landon Castle.
Row 17, J.J. Yaley from Phoenix, Arizona, and David Gillen.
Row 18, we have another Arizona native, Alex Bowman, starting alongside Michael Annett.
In row 19, Cole Witz and Jeb Burton.
Row 20, Joey Gase and Brett Moffitt, who leads the Rookie of the Year standings.
And in row 21, we have Ryan Preece making his first start, starting next to Ryan Ellis making his first career start.
And starting at the back of the field, 43rd will be Timmy Hill. And let's chat with Kyle Busch, one of the Chase drivers hoping to make it into the championship four with Jeff Gordon in Miami.
Hey, Kyle, it's Jeff in the NBCSN booth. You with us?
Yeah, buddy, what's up?
Well, we're just wondering. You and your team are second in points, but it's really, really close. How does that affect your strategy for tonight?
Well, it just kind of depends on what's happening up front, I guess, and who looks like they're going to win this thing. But the safest thing for us is obviously to have a guy that's in the chase or already eliminated from the chase win the race, and not somebody that we're racing that's behind us in points here. So we'll see how it goes, but regardless, good solid day like we've been doing all year long, and this M&M team keeping it up front. We should be able to transfer through on our own.
Well, I know all you guys were planning on a day race, but now we're racing at night. Tell us how that affects you going into this race.
It's not going to be that bad. You know, I've raced here in the trucks a few times at night on Friday nights, and it's been a long day, you know, so this will be somewhat similar to that. But, you know, it's been a while since we've had a night race here, so I think everybody's kind of up in the air about what the track's exactly going to do. I'm sure it'll be a little bit free here to start, but just got to keep it safe for a little while, run our own race.
Okay, thanks for taking some time tonight, and good luck.
All right, you got it, man. Thanks.
Let's stay within the team and hear from the crew chief, Adam Stevens. He's with Dave.
And Rick, Kyle brought up the question that I wanted to talk to Adam about. Kyle has 7 Truck Series races here, including 2 wins. How valuable is that night racing experience for him here tonight?
Well, you know, at this point, that's all we got. You know, we haven't had any practice with any track conditions anywhere similar to this, so it's a bit of a crapshoot right now for all the teams, but we'll lean on Kyle's experience to pull us through.
Good luck with that dice roll.
Thank you very much.
18 crew chief Adam Stevens will make the calls tonight, Rick.
Thanks, Dave. 2016 Toyota Camry leads the field as the official pace car for tonight's race. We'll be riding along with a few different drivers tonight, including the 31 of Ryan Newman. He has the Quicken Loans in-car camera, starting 22nd. Also riding along with Greg Biffle with the Jardiance Impugu Flosen onboard camera. That car starts 20th. Brad Keselowski with the Ford onboard camera starting 18th. Joey Logano with the Coca-Cola in-car camera starting in row 7. Just heard from Kyle Busch. He has the Sprint onboard camera starting 10th tonight. Kevin Harvick with the Outback Steakhouse in-car camera starting 8th. Dale Earnhardt Jr. carrying the Nationwide onboard camera in the 2nd row, starting 3rd. In the front row, Kurt Busch has the Chevrolet onboard camera and will start 2nd tonight. Tonight's aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. Everything we learned making tires for the grueling demands of NASCAR inspires what we roll into yours. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. I'm going to take a look at the Sunoco fuel strategy for tonight. 312 laps, on this mile track, means 312 miles. Pit road speed 45 miles per hour, and a unique pit road straight on the front stretch, and it bends all the way around into turn 1 and 2. The fuel window 85 to 90 laps. Will that be tested tonight, Steve?
It would not surprise me at all, even though it's only a 312 lap race. With this newer pavement here at Phoenix, these Goodyear tires have really been lasting a long time. We have seen this come down to fuel mileage. Even if it isn't a long run to the green, crew chiefs can choose to stay out, not pit, and stretch that fuel mileage.
Let's hear from Todd Gordon. He's with Mike Massaro.
And the 22 team, as we've mentioned, is in a must-win situation tonight. So, Todd, what have you told Joey and your team before going into this race?
I mean, the biggest part is just do the things we've done. It's, if you look at the last 5 races, we've had competitive cars. We've been able to win races. We can't stray from what's worked for us. So we'll continue to race this way, the way we've been, and work on a race car all night. Work the strategy out here, see what happens with weather.
Joey talked about the pressure coming into this race. He says that just has not affected this team so far. We're going to find out tonight. Marty?
Mike, let's talk to Rodney Childers. And you crew chiefs have to think about a lot of stuff. What worries you most about transitioning from a day race to a night race, Rodney?
Well, it just really depends on where the balance of the race car goes. You know, probably going to be a lot of loose race cars here at the beginning. A lot of people dragging splitters and that kind of thing. But hopefully our Budweiser Chevrolet will be fast, and we'll work on it at that competition yellow, try to make it better.
One thing they are concerned about, pit road fairly wet, especially down here in turns 1 and 2, Kelly.
Paul Wolf is crew chief for Brad Keselowski on the 2 car. After being so fast a week ago, you guys look a little bit down on speed this weekend. Obviously, conditions completely different. How do you expect it to affect the handling of your car and the racing we'll see tonight?
Well, I don't think we're sure yet. Like you said, we were off a little bit in practice on Saturday, so we've made a lot of changes coming into the race. Obviously, it's about 7 hours later and a lot different track conditions, a lot cooler all night, so we'll just have to work hard on it. We got our work cut out for us for where we qualified, but I know this team's capable of it, so we'll work hard all night and hope we can get to the front.
They qualified 18th, Rick.
We listened in moments ago to Carl Edwards as he is evaluating the track. Here's what they had to say on the radio.
Yeah, there's low water all the way along the barrier up here on the right. There's a bunch of crud up there, a bunch of pieces of stuff. Except for same deal over here, and quite a bit of water. So look, exit of 4 underneath the wall, from underneath the wall.
And NASCAR is going to bring the jet dryers back out into turn 2 up against the wall, as we've heard some of the drivers noticing that there's some things that are right up against that safer barrier. We want to make sure that the track is ready for these cars to turn upwards of 150, 160 miles an hour as they go into the turns.
Yeah, one of the things that's been created with the safer barrier is there's actually 2 walls, and in between the outside wall and the inside wall there's foam barriers where that water gets trapped in between the 2 walls, and it will run out underneath the outside wall and run across the racetrack. It's very difficult to get that dry. NASCAR actually has a tool. They go in and pick the outer wall up and then blow air and try to get all that water out, but you can see how the water runs out from between the 2 walls.
Amazingly, it rained quite a bit here in Avondale, Arizona, and so they continue to work right up against the safer barrier, the outside wall here at Phoenix International Raceway. We'll take a quick break and be right back. Welcome back to Jeff Gordon Raceway, or Phoenix International Raceway, whichever weekend you come out to Avondale, Arizona. This week, it's Jeff Gordon Raceway because this is his second to last race in the Sprint Cup Series, as he is planning to retire after the race in Miami. And still, that drive for 5 is alive for Jeff Gordon, looking for his 5th championship in the Sprint Cup Series. Unique aspect of this racetrack is the dogleg on the backstretch, and we have seen drivers make their way onto that dogleg in race conditions, but it looks like the dogleg might be a little bit damp. We might not see as much travel down there tonight.
I think the drivers are going to have to pay really close attention to this. The drivers use this flat apron, especially on restarts. If we go back and look at yesterday's race, on these restarts when all the drivers are bunched together, it creates an opportunity. Look at the 4-car all the way on the bottom of Chastain. Makes a big move, picks up several spots by doing it. Look at how wide the racetrack is. But when you do it, you are on the flat surface. You no longer have banking, but you just essentially take a shortcut. So we've seen the drivers use it. It works very well on restarts. But with as wet as it is right now, I don't think the drivers will be able to use it.
Get a unique aspect of Phoenix International Raceway, and you see the darker asphalt where there's a little bit more moisture. Down there, they have been focusing, obviously, on the racetrack. And they've been doing that for a little over 6 hours now, trying to get this racetrack dry. The dogleg, as Jeff had just mentioned, very flat compared to the racetrack. And Jeff, you were able to get on the track 2 days ago in the Toyota on-track car, and we rode along via your helmet cam.
You can see how rough it is, and that, you know, the camera is hooked to your helmet, and that's not something that we can ask drivers to do in competition because it's a little dangerous to have the camera on your helmet. But you can see, you know, how much a driver moves around. You could hear the car bottom out on the racetrack, and you actually could see grooves that have been cut in the racetrack as the cars transition off the banking. So it's very violent for the driver, but also for the race car. Steve, you have to prepare. If your driver's going to run down there, the team has to understand that, and they have to do certain things in a race car so you can run down there.
Yeah, I mean, what's very unique is most tracks you go to, actually every track other than Phoenix, the car travels the most in the corners. Here at Phoenix, down that straightaway, that very odd-shaped dogleg is the most travel these cars are going to see. So what you heard with that NBC on-track car, when it hit that bottoming out, you hope that is something that you've planned, and it's hitting something on the race car that you can withstand all night long.
Joey Logano had this to say about the dogleg and the condition that it's in now.
So there's only about 2 lanes of the flat and the kink that are dry. I wouldn't get much lower than that if you have to go down there. 10-4, I saw that. Kind of the same thing down there in 3 and 4.
And one of the other things, we have seen Kevin Harvick run the apron at this racetrack in 3 and 4 or in 1 and 2, and the apron hasn't been, they haven't focused as much time on drying the apron. That may change the line that some of these drivers would prefer to take.
Yeah, we keep talking about this dogleg because this changes the racetrack. When you look farther back in the field, you have Kyle Busch starting 10th, Joey Logano 14th, Brad Keselowski 18th. They're going to be looking to make up spots on the restarts. That's when you can gain the most spots. But to do that, you have to have an escape plan on the backstretch. With that dogleg being damp and perhaps the apron in 3 and 4 being damp, this track has just become even narrower.
How high up the racetrack will we see people run? Can they run all the way to the wall?
Well, we've seen as this race goes on and the track starts to get rubbered up, we've seen this become a multi-groove racetrack running the top. I don't think that's going to be the case for a little while. I think you're going to run right around the bottom of the racetrack. You can see the apron that I think that the drivers would use, you know, going into turn 3 looks okay to me. As you come off of turn 4, you're going to have your left sides directly on that yellow line. So I'm not so sure it's a big issue right now. I think that's okay. And, you know, one thing about the back straightaway, you know, NASCAR has to get the racetrack dry. And if the bottom of the racetrack, you know, the apron of the racetrack isn't dry, just don't go there. You know, the driver has to understand that, you know, you just can't use it. We may see a driver go down there and then complain, hey, they didn't get it dry. Everyone can see it. You know it's too wet to run down there, or at least it looks too wet to me to run down there. You see some drivers already on the apron trying to dry it out, which, by the way, is the cars on the bottom of the racetrack, but that's what they don't want to be able to use it. So that's what they were doing. But you have to look at that and recognize that maybe now is not the time to use that.
Let's go trackside to Marty.
Well, Kevin Harvick certainly noticed that the apron is wet on the dog leg back there, and he made comment that sort of, or definitely sarcastically, he said, nobody's going to try and use that tonight, are they? But, Jeff, your point is great. The drivers, when they use it the most, on the start and the restart to this race. So drivers are going to be on their toes for the start of this race, aren't they?
Yeah, I think they are. And you know, what's interesting about that, or what's demanding about that, is these restarts are very aggressive. We're going to see, you know, we've seen 3 wide, 4 wide. We've seen drivers use that as an opportunity to pick up spots. So it will take a lot of restraint to not use it, because you know it's advantageous to use it. And also, when you go through the dog leg and you're the guy on the outside and you are in the 3rd groove off the bottom, the track is very, very slick up there. It's not bad at all right around the paint, right around the yellow line. But when you get much above that, it gets very slick. So everybody wants to cheat toward the bottom of the racetrack, because that's where there's more grip.
Everybody wants to go where Kevin Harvick goes, because Kevin Harvick, since the repave, has ended up in victory lane more than anyone. His average finish since this track was repaved in 2001, under 5, 4.9. What an incredible run Kevin Harvick has had. 5 wins since the repave in 2011, 7 total for him, and 4 races in a row. The last 4 he has ended up winning at Phoenix. He will definitely be one of the favorites we will keep our eye on. Jimmy Johnson and Kurt Busch are making up row number 1. Both looked very good in practices on Friday and Saturday, but both looked good in conditions that were supposed to be what we were going to race under, which was sunny skies, the sun beating down on the racetrack. Now a completely different racetrack. Under the lights at night, it's cooler. Initially, that would be more grip. There will be a competition caution at lap 40 to make sure the tire wear is okay.
Well, the issue with grip is it going to add grip the same to the front and the back of the race car? You know, my experience tells me when tracks cool down, you seem to gain front grip, front turn, the cars get free, you lose the back of the race car. All day long on Friday and Saturday, we heard everybody talk about how their cars start loose and get tighter as they run. In the same run, 10, 15, 20 laps into a tire run, the cars just start to push. The question is tonight, with a cooler racetrack, how much freer are they going to start, and are they still going to build that tight?
Dave Burns, what about the 18 starting on the outside of row 5?
Rick, real quick, some drivers are still telling NASCAR the track isn't ready. That includes Kurt Busch, who said there's still a little bit of rain. But as for the 18 of Kyle Busch, we know electronics don't do well in the water. Listen to Channel 2 radio.
Drier than that, it's really weak. Some guys will try using it. I'd advise against it for a while.
I caught about 3 words out of that whole thing. It was busted up real bad.
Okay, 10-4.
After Kyle talked to Jeff Burton on Channel 1, which is pretty clear, that was Channel 2, which is sometimes used for the spotter and the team to communicate. And right now, it's not good. A lot of rain today. Doesn't work well on these radios.
Kyle Busch in the position he is in, if he wants to join Jeff Gordon in Miami, has an 11-point lead over Carl Edwards. But it's very tight. As far as 11 points, that's 11 positions on the racetrack.
Well, it looks like 11 points, but as soon as you put Brad Keselowski, Kurt Busch, Joey Logano in the lead, that 11 points shrinks to 4. So this chase grid, while it seems a little bit clear here, and we can talk about the guys needing to win and the teams needing to point race in, it can all change. We saw last week how quickly it can change. Joey Logano with a flat tire, other people's with issue on the racetrack. That grid, 11 points is only 11 positions. That could be one mistake on the last lap of this race.
Yeah, you know, when we talked to Kyle before the race started, he made comment that they really just had to watch what their competition was doing. You know, they know what they need to do. They know if they go win the race, they're in, but they don't really know how many points they have to gain yet because they don't know what their competition's doing. If their competition is running first, second, third, fourth, fifth, that completely changes what they have to do. If their competition has engine failures or gets in wrecks, that changes their situation as well. So with being in the position they're in, they have the luxury of watching their competition and kind of playing their strategy based on what their competition is doing, as opposed to Keselowski, Logano, Kurt Busch. Those guys, they all have to go win this race.
You can watch a live stream of every Sprint Cup Series race combined with additional camera angles, interactive driver stats, and track information with NBC Sports Live Extra. It's available on your laptop, tablet, smartphone, and connected TVs. NBC Sports Live Extra. It brings you closer to every race. 41 of Kurt Busch starting up front on that front row. Here was the pep talk that they had on the radio.
Guys on pit road, you're the best in the business. You got the trophy to prove it. So congratulations on winning the pit crew of the year. You guys deserve it. So let's show them what you're made of tonight. Let's have a great night. Get this done.
Tony Gibson giving the guys a nice little pep talk before the green flag comes out and the light goes off on that Toyota Camry pace car, meaning next time around they will see the green flag and we'll be racing in the desert. Jimmy Johnson, Kurt Busch, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Carl Edwards, Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Larson, Eric Jones subbing for Matt Kenseth, Kevin Harvick, Casey Kane, and Kyle Busch. The first 5 rows. Crowds roaring at the opportunity to see racing in Avondale, Arizona. They have been waiting for hours. Even up on Rattlesnake Hill. They have filled in, a lot of the time being spent under the grandstands as the rains pass through the area, but now they're in their seats. 312 miles, the competition caution coming up on lap 40. The pace car has made its way onto pit road. Jimmy Johnson, Kurt Busch side by side. Green flag is in the air. We're racing in Phoenix. Sparks flying from underneath the 48. Tire pressure's low at the start of this one. Kurt Busch, Jimmy Johnson, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Kyle Larson, Carl Edwards, the top 5. Seven drivers fighting for the opportunity to win a championship in 2015. Trying to join the 24 of Jeff Gordon. Joey Logano just outside Jeff Gordon now as they race side by side. A little smoke coming out of the 1 of Jamie McMurray. Looks like tire smoke once again for Jamie McMurray. We have seen that numerous races for that team.
Yeah, but it looks like there might be some damage on that left rear quarter panel, pushing it in towards the tire. This is something this team's really going to have to watch because, as we mentioned before the race, it's going to smoke heavy here in the corner, but also on the backstretch as you see the 24 slide up into the 1. It looks like we're going to have 3 wide with Joey Logano.
3 wide without being able to use the apron very much. That's going to get really tight. You saw Joey did use the apron, but didn't cut it off quite as much as you normally would.
There was some contact between Jamie McMurray and the 5 of Casey Kane. That put that sheet metal in a little bit closer to the tire for Jamie McMurray.
It makes me nervous that it's rubbing so often. You can see it on the straightaway, it's rubbing a little bit. It will clearance itself. The problem is, will it do damage while it's clearing itself? The tire rubbing against that quarter panel, it's just eating into the sidewall of that tire. You have to hope it pushes that quarter panel out quickly.
Competition caution coming at lap 40. If the drivers come to pit road, they're not allowed to put fuel in their cars until that competition caution. Look back to how it happened. There's a little bit of contact between the 5 and the 1.
Short track racing off of turn 4. The 5 got into the 1 a little bit. Just, you're going to see that all night long. 2 drivers fighting for a spot and making a little bit of contact.
There's a penalty early on the start of this race. The 41 of Kurt Busch was in front of the 48 at the start-finish line, and so NASCAR has told them that is a pass-through penalty for Kurt Busch. Already, Kurt Busch now in a situation where he will have to fight back from this. Take another look at the start of this race. Jimmie Johnson won the pole. He is the control car.
Remember, the flagman starts the race at the start of the race. The flagman starts the race. So the rule is, when the green flag falls, the leader has to go. Not 100% sure why NASCAR is making this call.
So Kurt Busch,
when you get here, really slick.
slow on the track, down on the apron. He will have to do a pass-through penalty to start this race. Kevin Harvick able to get by the 78 of Martin Truex Jr. Harvick making his way toward the front. Harvick up to 5th now.
What makes this start even more confusing is for the rest of the restarts all day long in the restart zone, when the leader goes, the field goes. Second can beat the leader to the start-finish line on restarts. But the initial start of the race, the flagman starts the race, and the leader, the pole sitter, whichever lane he chooses, tonight it was Jimmie Johnson, he must be the first car to the start-finish line.
As we looked at the replay, we saw that Kurt Busch was just about a foot in front of the 48 of Jimmie Johnson. Take a closer look. 41 on the outside, just a nose in front of the 48 of Jimmie Johnson. And Kurt Busch was out in front of the field. And so having to serve that pass-through penalty. Dave.
And when Kurt was told that he would have to come down pit road, he started to add commentary, and he caught himself. And he said, all right, coming in. He came down pit road, and earlier today, talking to people about who was fast today, they mentioned cars with 4s, the 48, the 4, and the 41. He can make up laps here if he needs to. He's still on the lead lap right now, but that 41 is going to have to use that speed to get from the back of the field to the front.
The pass-through penalty put Kurt Busch all the way to the back of the field. He is running 43rd. Out front, Jimmie Johnson leading at Phoenix. 18 laps complete from Phoenix, and it's Jimmy Johnson out front, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Kyle Larson, Kevin Harvick, and Carl Edwards, the top 5. Big story on the start of the race. Kurt Busch beat Jimmy Johnson to the start-finish line by just over a foot. And managing director of the Sprint Cup Series, Dick Buck, had this to say in the drivers' meeting, and it was a question that was asked by Jeff Gordon specific to this situation.
The question from Jeff was if the second place car beats the first place car to the start finish line on the initial start. The original start, the rules are that the leader leads the first lap. Okay. After that, the leader has the opportunity. He's earned the opportunity to restart in the zone. It does not mandate that he beats the second place to the start finish line. He just has earned the right to restart in the zone. Second place on restarts can beat the first place to the start finish line.
So Richard Buck made the statement on the initial restart. The driver who won the pole has to get to the start finish line before the second place driver that's on the front row, but all of the subsequent restarts after the fact, the driver who is leading the race has won the opportunity to restart the race in the restart zone.
Yeah, so Richard Buck was trying to explain it. I think he might have got a little confusing there when he said he had to lead the first lap. I don't see that as the first lap, but in the rule book, it does state at the initial start of the race, the number 2 starting position must not beat the number 1 starting position to the start finish line. That's black and white and pretty clear. I understand the confusion because it's different than every other start or restart, but this is the initial start of the race.
It was confusing the way he explained it, but it is clearly written in the rule book. 10.12.1.1 green flag start procedure. That's what it says.
The 41 of Kurt Busch questioning that, and this is what they had to say on the radio after they were told that they had jumped the start.
When the green flag was waved, I saw the black man tap the guy in the back, and the guy waved the flag. That's when I stood on the gas. Unreal.
I don't disagree with a single thing Kurt Busch said there. The problem is, it doesn't matter when you go, you can't beat the leader to the start finish line. Dave?
And Steve, now what Kurt Busch wants to know is how is my pace? Jimmy Johnson is less than 2 seconds behind Kurt, lapping him if he can. Kurt was told that his pace is pretty good in comparison to the leader, but Kurt said my car was a little bit loose to start, so we'll monitor how he does now. He's got to focus. This is a tremendous challenge for this driver to stay focused now and do what he needs to do, which is get through to Miami.
Well, the one advantage the 41 team has is they have a guaranteed caution at lap 40, a competition caution. So they've had a great race car all weekend long. They've been the talk of the garage. There's nothing you can do at this point. Currently 35th, 25 laps in the race. Settle in, run the laps. Nice long race. Leave it up to Tony Gibson. Work a little pit strategy. Get themselves back in the race.
So for 14 laps, the 41 is going to try to stay in front of the 48. But the gap is closing now. Kurt Busch is at the back of the lead lap cars running 35th. If the 48 does get by the 41 and they get to the competition caution, and the 41 is the highest scored lap down car, he would get the free pass. The problem is there are a lot of cars that are very close to the 41 of Kurt Busch just in front, and if the 48 gets by them, then he will lose that opportunity for the free pass.
The whole key to this is who gets through lap traffic the best. You're seeing Kurt underneath the 26 car, that getting by lap traffic, that's what the key is. If he can cleanly get by, at the same time, he can't force the issue. He can't panic right now. He just has to be methodical, not worry about the 48, worry about yourself. Run the best lap time you know how to run. As you said, Steve, there's a competition caution coming. Race to that.
On the left of your screen, you're going to see the chase points as they run. The 4 of Kevin Harvick, 12 points above the cut line. The 41, 56 points behind the cut line as he runs on the track in 34th.
And really, what you want right now, if you're Kurt Busch, you're wanting to run as fast as you can, and you're wanting the 48 to run as fast as he can, because as many cars as you put a lap down, that's positive to you also. So you want to push, and you want the 48 pushing. You don't want him pushing hard enough to pass you, but you want him to put as many cars a lap down as possible.
Yeah, and while we've been following this 41, the 22 of Joey Logano is up 7 positions from the start of the race.
Joey Logano up to 7th, chasing down Martin Truex Jr. in the 78. Joey Logano in a must-win situation in Phoenix. Dive deeper into the action with RaceView Premium. Free this weekend. Get access to 3D virtual video, in-car audio, real-time driver stats, and advanced pit road data. Visit NASCAR.com/trial to start following your favorite driver like never before. Jimmy Johnson has been out front, 35 laps. Kevin Harvick has closed the gap. He runs second. Dale Earnhardt Jr., Carl Edwards, and Kyle Larson still up in the top 5. Marty.
Rick, at the garage area this morning, a lot of people said that Kevin Harvick wasn't his normal Phoenix self, where he's been dominant, winning 5 of the last 6 races. But Rodney Childers told me this morning, we're not worried about that. You get Kevin Harvick close here, you got a shot to go to victory lane. And are we surprised? Here it is. He started 8th. He's up in 2nd. Childers told him a moment ago, you're 3/10 faster than that 48 car, Mike.
Being in a must-win situation, as is the case for the 22 team, Todd Gordon said he studied videotape from the spring race here at Phoenix. What he did notice was the 4-car Kevin Harvick outturned them, so he wanted to make sure they had a car that was very good in the corners and rotated well. Right now, what Joey is saying, progressively, it's gotten more and more loose, beginning in the center of the corner and off. Dave?
Kyle Busch said his car needs a little turn from when it lands through the center and off the corner. But the interesting point was, he said, just like it was in practice. If anything relates from practice tonight, it might be worth noting. Kelly?
Brad Keselowski, much like his teammate, pretty much in a must-win situation. They struggled to get the handling on this car and to find speed in it. Made big changes overnight. Well, Brad's saying early that he was loose, but now he's saying he's tight at the 2/3 mark in turns 3 and 4. He's been adjusting his track bar to help. He's up 4 spots after starting 18. Rick?
Saw Jamie McMurray make the move down onto the apron there in the dogleg. And the smoke has stopped rolling out from underneath the 1. We see Brad Keselowski going by some of the slower traffic. Now 29 cars on the lead lap, and the 18 trying to get by the 78.
The 18's been working in the middle of the racetrack. I'm surprised to see the top of the racetrack this good this early. Look how high he is, and he's making it work. I'm really shocked that it works this well. Normally the track has to get rubbered up, but he has been rolling in the middle of the racetrack.
We've completed 40 laps. NASCAR had mentioned that the competition caution would come out around lap 40. And as we say, if the yellow flag flies, the competition caution is out. Jimmy Johnson out front. Kevin Harvick running second. Kurt Busch stays on the lead lap. He runs 28, so a big break for Kurt Busch.
And that was the point earlier. Jimmy Johnson putting a lot of cars down a lap. You know, having the trouble that you had coming in with the first pit stop, leading the race and having a pass-through penalty to come through all that in 28th position, you have to feel not too bad about that.
Alex Bowman gets the free pass. So Alex Bowman will be put back on the lead lap and be the 30th in line. There will be 30 cars on the lead lap. Now when all of the teams come to pit road, they can change tires and add fuel.
I think the question here, Rick, is how many tires do you change? 40 laps is about half a fuel run. We saw yesterday in the Xfinity race, teams gambling with 2 tires. It wouldn't shock me. Even on stop 1, some of these teams gamble with just right side tires.
Trying to gain that track position. Pit road is still closed. They'll go around again. You can get news, results, and highlights delivered straight to your inbox. Subscribe to the free official NASCAR newsletter at NASCAR.com/newsletter. After the interesting start for Kurt Busch, jumping the restart, beating Jimmy Johnson to the start-finish line on that initial start. He was penalized, had a pass-through penalty, but has stayed on the lead lap. Now maybe Kurt Busch is one of those drivers that will have to gamble, maybe a 2-tire stop for the 41 team so that they can make up some of that track position they've lost.
And if I was Tony Gibson, I would actually do the exact opposite. I would expect a chunk of the leaders to do 2 tires all the way back in the 28th position. You just don't gain enough. You're still going to come out 15th, 16th, 18th. I think the 41 take 4 tires, reset, and race from here.
Because pit road is still a little bit wet, pit road is considered closed, but they are going to bring the cars all the way down pit road. They're not allowed to stop, but in an effort to try to help dry pit road, they're going to bring the cars onto pit road and roll around. Again, not allowed to stop because pit road is not open yet.
This will also give the drivers an opportunity to see how damp it is. So even if it doesn't make a big change to pit road, Jeff, the drivers will understand what they're going to have the next time they come down.
Yeah, their pit boxes are dry. Once they get to their pit box, the teams have gotten the pit boxes dry by using fans, by using air blowers. They tried to keep them covered up while all this rain was happening. It's pit road itself that's still a little bit damp, so that's the big issue.
And you may be asking, why is that person able to stand on pit road or in their stall? Pit road is still closed, so they were not allowed to come onto pit road and have any service done. So one of the crew members we saw standing over the road or over the wall waiting for the cars to go by. But again, in an attempt to help dry pit road, they have brought the field onto pit road, back off again, and back onto the racetrack. Under caution for the first time. This was a competition caution. And now pit road is open. Race leader Jimmy Johnson bringing the lead lap cars onto pit road. We mentioned earlier how important good pit stops are. Kelly?
Darian Grubb reminding Carl Edwards to be cautious as he comes down pit road. He said the car is a little bit tight rolling center and pretty free off, but better and clear air. They called for a 2-tire right sides only on this stop, Dave.
Kyle Busch needs a little bit of turn. They're going to get 2 right sides as well. Sunoco Fuel, they said, watch out for the 41 because he's coming by late as you exit, Marty.
Kevin Harvick said he lost a little bit of rear grip at the end of that run, a little bit of air out of the right rear tire to keep that track position. 2 tires, Mike.
Jimmy Johnson has led every lap so far, saying the car's very balanced, a 4-tire change of fuel.
The 83 of Matt DiBenedetto getting into the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. and the 5 of Casey Kane on pit road. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Nationwide. Nationwide is on your side. McDonald's, I'm loving it. And by Pepsi, 18 years and running. Thanks for the ride, Jeff. 48 of Jimmy Johnson, too fast entering pit road. So now the front row, both with eventful starts to the race here at Phoenix International Raceway. Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano. Harvick on the inside. Green flag back in the air. It took until the first caution of the night for the 4 of Kevin Harvick to get in front of the field in Phoenix. On that restart, we saw drivers making their way through the dog leg. 2 and 3 wide. Martin Truex Jr. trying to stay in front of the 11 of Denny Hamlin, as Hamlin racing side by side with the 42 of Kyle Larson.
You see the 42 bottoming out on the racetrack when he goes onto the apron. Just hits the splitter very hard, and the 42 using all of the apron in 3 and 4. Left side's on below the apron. There's more grip down there. Makes the pass.
Beginning of the show, Steve, we mentioned the pit window between 85 and 90 laps for fuel as Dale Earnhardt Jr. gets by Joey Logano. And every spot that Joey Logano falls behind the race leader, the opportunity for Logano to win this race in a must-win situation continues to fall.
And Joey and his team have done a good job getting this track position. Remember, they started back in 14th position. They're running 3rd now, so that's what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to find their way to the front, and once they get there, they're going to have to be able to keep it. But they've done a good job getting track position to this point.
And one thing about early cautions is pit road can be congested. We saw in this last cycle of pit stops right here, the 83 of Matt DiBenedetto turns left to try to get into his pit stall. Casey Kane leaving his. They make contact. The contact wasn't very severe, but it forced the 5 to pit in extra time, repair the fender. That's put him at the tail end of the line.
Contact between the 34 of Brett Moffitt and that 26 driven by J.J. Yaley. Yaley, Phoenix, Arizona native. Riding along with Kyle Busch, looking forward to Joey Logano.
This is an important point in the race, Rick, because earlier everyone was on equal tires. They were on 4 brand new Goodyear tires to start the race. People would take a little bit of caution. But now we see the front 5 or 6, 7 cars are on 2 tires. How do their cars handle on 2 tires? We're going to see that most of the day. So these are all the things we have to see. Which teams made adjustments for the racetrack? Which teams made adjustments for 2 tires?
We knew once one of the chasers got up front, as you look on the left side of your screen in the chase points, it would affect the points system. Because Kevin Harvick is leading, he's being shown as a driver that will advance to the championship 4 in Miami. Joining Jeff Gordon with that win, it changes the points. 12 points above the cut line is the 18 of Kyle Busch, and only 6 in front of the cut line is the 78 of Martin Truex Jr. For more updates, let's go to Kelly Stavis.
Carl Edwards is running 5th, but he is 6 points below the cut line. When he was asked about the pressure of this pace format, he said, I don't think pressure is the word that I would describe the feeling. It's excitement. It's exciting to be a part of this, knowing that when we go to Phoenix, whatever happens, happens. That's a lot of fun to him. Well, he lost a couple spots on that restart. He said he just had his track bar a little bit too high. That's something he can adjust inside the cockpit, Mike.
No, Kelly, coming into this race, the 78 Martin Truex Jr. was above the cutoff line. His crew chief, consequently, Cole Pern, told me, he said, we don't need to take any major risks. The calls on pit road just need to be the right calls. Last time down pit road, he went for 2 tires, right side only. Also made a wedge adjustment, trying to tighten that car up, especially into turn 1. Marty?
Like Jeff Gordon among those cars that took 4 tires when he came to pit road, restarted 10th. He's up to 9th now, trying to get past Denny Hamlin for the 8th position. I asked Alan Gufson, what's the goal this week? And he said, honestly, to work on our racecraft, the race execution, so he stays sharp for Homestead next week. He said, I honestly feel like we've only executed 2 races properly this year, Martinsville and Talladega. Next week, it's got to be perfect. Dave?
When they explained to Kurt Busch that there was a penalty under caution, there was a bit of a confusion.
We got another penalty. So 48. So 4-8. 10-4. Sorry, I just got a guilty conscience. 10-4. You got to read it to be good, Sean. It's all good. Got a fast car going to the front.
Can you blame him? There was a little confusion. He thought it said 41. It was the 48. Kurt back in the game now in his car and had a good pit stop, and he's going back through the field.
And Kurt Busch, after coming on to pit road in 28, has been able to move up to the front. We see a little wiggle out of the 13 of Casey Mears. Kurt Busch trying to get by. Mears running 15th, Kurt Busch in 16th, and about to take 15th away.
And as if he didn't have enough motivation coming into this race. I think when he received that penalty, I think that lit the fire on top of the fire that was already lit. So now he really has a point to prove. I think you're going to see Kurt charging hard to the front.
Kurt Busch, the driver, on the move, but he's going to have to try to catch Kevin Harvick, who is so good at Phoenix International Raceway. Harvick out front. Welcome back to the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series Quicken Loans Race for Heroes 500 at Phoenix International Raceway. Rick Allen, Jeff Burton, Steve Letarte with you as we've completed 65 of the 312 laps after over a 6-hour rain delay before this race got underway. Kevin Harvick, it didn't matter how long the delay was going to be. We expected him to run up front because of the successes we have seen out of the 4 team. The last 4 races, Kevin Harvick has won at Phoenix International Raceway. He won in the spring and looks to sweep the 2015 season from Phoenix. On the left side of your screen, you'll see the chase points as they run, with Kevin Harvick being the race leader. He will be on the top of the list because of points. Jeff Gordon with the win at Martinsville, also advancing to Miami. 12 points above the cut line is Kyle Busch. 6 points above is the 78 of Martin Truex Jr. Now Carl Edwards, who's running 5th, is 6 points behind the cut line. So Carl Edwards, the way they are running, is in a must-win situation if he wants to advance to Miami.
That's because Martin Truex Jr., who's right behind him in 6th on the racetrack, is doing what he needs to do. He came into this race 7 points above Carl Edwards. That means he needs to run within 7 positions of Carl Edwards. He's currently doing that. That is how the 78 needs to advance to Miami. That, though, is a little bit better of an opportunity than Brad Keselowski, Kurt Busch, and Joey Logano. You see their points deficit. They're really staring at a must-win. Unless something major happens for the 2 or the 41, a mechanical issue, an early crash with one of our other contenders, they're looking at a must-win situation.
And the reason we'll say For example, Brad Keselowski, a must-win situation. He's 26 points behind the cut line. He currently runs 13th on the track. 26 points can't be made up by moving up 13 spots. That means he has to win this race.
As long as Carl Edwards, Martin Truex Jr., and Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick do their jobs. If they have a problem and fall out of the race, that changes the landscape. The 2 team will then have to adjust to it.
Brad Keselowski running 13th. The only chase driver behind him is Kurt Busch running 15th. With more on the 2, here's Kelly.
Brad Keselowski had quite a few things to tell his team about that competition caution. He said, I can't get into turn 1. The front does not let me use the brakes like I want to. I'm loose on entry and tight late center. So they made an air pressure adjustment, and he's one of the teams that got 4 fresh Goodyear tires on that last stop. It seems to be paying off as he has moved forward since that restart.
This team has struggled all weekend, really. They did not qualify as well as they normally do. Their practices did not go very well. The same can be said for Logano. Logano and his team seem to have done a better job of making the adjustments that were needed coming into this race. Right now, Keselowski and his team, they just don't seem to have the speed.
Kevin Harvick maybe out front, but Dale Earnhardt Jr., one of the non-chasers, running second. Very impressive at Jeff Gordon Raceway. For more on the 88, let's go to Mike Massaro.
Having a pretty good run here, Rick, I would say, and to the satisfaction of his crew chief, no doubt. Greg Ives told me this morning, he said, look, we weren't real happy with the way we ran during the spring race here, so we came with a completely different concept. Obviously, it's shown some speed. Led to an interesting conversation over the first run, though. Ives asked Earnhardt whether he felt like he was more loose or more tight. He said, well, I'm not sure which is worse. Why don't you fix one of them, and we'll figure it out. They made a wedge adjustment and a 2-tire change last time down pit road.
Mike, the balance of the 42 car on that first run was building loose off turn 4, but he said it cuts pretty well. They made a 4-tire change and a wedge adjustment. Now he's got kind of a weird vibration in the rear end of the car, which he is not too concerned about because he had the same thing in practice and it eventually went away. Behind him, the 11 of Denny Hamlin was pretty racy according to the team in practice this weekend. He was free off of turn 2, tied off of turn 4 on the first run. They made a right side tire only change and an air pressure adjustment. He said it's a little better. Marty?
Dave, how about the job for young Eric Jones, 19-year-old in 11th position, filling in for Matt Kenseth. His car's a little bit loose in, loose off right now. And he's raced here in the Truck Series before and has 2 wins here. Those races are at night. How valuable is that information? Well, who asked him for a little help before the race? Kyle Busch came up to him, got a little refresher on how this track reacts during the evening time. So Eric Jones, even though he's 19, a lot of valuable experience here at Phoenix in the dark.
Trying to be a helpful teammate for Joe Gibbs Racing as he fills in for Matt Kenseth. First time he has ever raced a Sprint Cup car at Phoenix. Not so for race leader Kevin Harvick. the driver that's been on the move, presented by Sprint. Since the penalty for jumping the start, Kurt Busch has moved up 30 positions since he fell back, and now running in the 13th spot. You can stop in at Sprint, cut your rate plan in half, just bring in your Verizon or AT&T wireless bill and turn in your old phone. Kurt Busch closing in on Brad Keselowski. Kurt Busch running 13th, Brad Keselowski is 12th. Both drivers in must-win situations. The reason why the penalty for Kurt Busch, he beat the race leader, the pole winner, to the start-finish line at the initial start of the race.
That is the key word, Rick, initial start. All the restarts for the rest of the race, there are different rules, but the initial start of the race, the flag man starts the race, and the pole sitter must be the first car to the start-finish line.
So Kurt Busch has battled back from that, running 13th on the lead lap. 29 cars are still on the lead lap after the one caution, the competition caution that came out just after lap 40. All the cars on pit road on lap 44 for service. We've completed 85 laps of the 312 scheduled for tonight's race. It wasn't scheduled to be a night race, to be under the lights, but because of the rain earlier today and the extensive track drying that took place, this race started under the lights and it will end under the lights. Dave?
Rick, remember Kurt Busch's round 3 went south at Martinsville, and after that I asked Tony Gibson, his crew chief, how did you encourage Kurt following that? He said, you know what, we encourage each other. So what do you talk about? He said, we talk about how fast our race cars are, that we can win at any time, and that we do well when others think we can't. Tonight is one of those they think we can't night, and so far, Kurt Busch is responding.
And they have to put this early penalty behind them. They can't feel like that they, NASCAR sinks, made them an example. They can't feel like that NASCAR's picking on them. They need to understand the rule is the rule, and obviously he did beat the leader to the line. They just have to focus on driving the race car, making the adjustments in the race car, doing everything they need to do. Look through the windshield. Don't pay attention to what happened in lap 1, lap 3. You understand the position you're in, and you just have to go make it happen.
One opportunity to keep their drive for a championship alive. With more on race leader Kevin Harvick, here's Marty.
Well, Rick, I think last week at Texas, a lot of race fans, and I think the two guys beside you as well, were very impressed with Kevin Harvick and what he was doing inside the race car. He was driving the last 100 laps at Texas with one hand on the wheel, one hand holding the car in high gear because the car had popped out of 4th gear at one point. You see, tonight has both hands firmly on the wheel this evening. After that, Rodney Childers decided, and 2 other Stewart-Haas teams decided to switch transmission vendors. Rodney told me this morning, it's the 3rd time it's happened this year. He said at Sonoma it cost him a shot at the win. New Hampshire in July it happened, and last week at Texas it happened. They still went on to finish 3rd in that race. He told me, quote, sometimes you have to stand up for what you believe in. Jeff, I know you think that's a big change with 2 races left in the season and a team trying to win a championship. But Steve, Rodney's point is I wanted quality control. I wanted to go with something I knew would work, and I was worried I couldn't have that happen again, especially in a championship scenario.
Yeah, Marty, what a lot of people don't realize is why the crew chief, Rodney Childers, is absolutely in charge of the 4-car. When you look at multi-car organizations, decisions like what transmission brand you run or big components like that perhaps are made at a more management level, allowing Rodney to focus on his car. It got to a point, though, where as a crew chief, he had to stand up and say, I know this is the direction the company goes, but I need this to try to make it to Miami. I applaud Stewart-Haas Racing for listening to one of their leaders, the crew chief, putting it back in his hands. Kevin Harvick and Rodney Childers obviously know what they're doing, defending champions from last year.
Danica Patrick looked to the inside of the 5. Casey Kane couldn't keep it on the bottom of the track. Now Kevin Harvick getting by teammate Danica Patrick. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Arvoni. Are you ready? And by Xfinity. X1 from Xfinity will change the way you experience TV. Kevin Harvick has a 2.2-second lead over second place Dale Earnhardt Jr. Joey Logano running third. Kyle Busch, Carl Edwards in the top 5. Martin Truex Jr., Jeff Gordon, both Chase drivers, running 6th and 7th. Paul Menard, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, non-chasers in the top 10. Brad Keselowski, a must-win situation as he goes by the 42 of Kyle Larson to take 10th away. Kurt Busch also behind Kyle Larson in the same situation. Has to win at Phoenix if he wants a chance at the championship.
And the 48 car, remember, they just served a penalty as well. He's driven himself up to 13th position. So the 48 car, lap in and lap out, he's had the fastest car on the racetrack coming from the back. He's got a lot of ground to make up, but he's doing a good job. Here comes Logano for second.
Logano on the move. Another driver in a must-win situation. Gets by Dale Earnhardt Jr. and now Logano is second. He will try to chase down the 4 of Kevin Harvick. Very few have been able to do it. They were on pit road on lap 44. They go 80 laps. They would end up needing to pit around lap 124. And we have completed 102 laps. Logano in a must-win situation, doing what he needs to do, trying to close the gap on Kevin Harvick. Jeff Gordon's locked into the championship in Miami. That means only 3 spots are left for 7 drivers. If you do the math, 4 drivers will be disappointed at races end. Who will be the 3 that will join Jeff Gordon in Miami? The quest for the Cup continues. Kevin Harvick is out front. Joey Logano in a must-win situation, running second. Let's take a look at tonight's lap leaders, brought to you by Quicken Loans. Two drivers have been out front, Kevin Harvick and Jimmy Johnson. Kevin Harvick, after leading 65 laps already and continuing to add to that number, has the most laps led in a season for him ever. 2,169 and counting. Even more than what he was able to do in 2014 when he won the championship. Now trying to defend that title, trying to continue the streak that he has that is alive in Phoenix. 4 straight wins. He's won here 7 times. Let's go through the field. Brought to you by Nationwide. Marty.
Rick, why is this racetrack so special to Kevin Harvick? Well, he told me earlier this week, I remember coming here with my grandfather, sitting in an RV and watching the races in the early and mid-90s here at Phoenix International Raceway. He's from Bakersfield, California. He said, I never dreamed I would even race here, much less be so successful at this racetrack. He's won here 7 times. He said right now his car is a little bit too loose. He needs an adjustment on this next stop, Mike.
And Marty, just moments ago, Dale Earnhardt Jr. making a charge back toward the front, just moved into second position. This is a track where he's been pretty good over the course of his career. A couple of victories here in the Valley of the Sun. His crew chief believes it's just because he's got a very good mentality when it comes to this style of racing, short track racing as such. Right now, he's just saying he's a little bit loose in the center, but otherwise pretty good. Meanwhile, Joey Logano had just lost a spot, fell back to third when Earnhardt went underneath him and picked up the position. Now, Joey was a little bit concerned in practice earlier, knowing what was at stake. Qualified 14th, and therefore had to be kind of talked off the ledge, so to speak, by his crew chief, Todd Gordon. He said, hey, don't look at that. Look at our lap averages, our 10 and 15 lap averages. They're among the best. I mean, I feel pretty good. He's running well right now, Dave.
Mike, the two ends of Phoenix International Raceway are very different, so drivers usually give feedback in twos. Turns 1 and 2, turns 3 and 4. For Kyle, it was tight in the center of turn 3, but off of turn 2 it was very loose, and his spotter, Tony Hirschman, could see that off of 2 was hurting him more, so that's what they'll go focus on. Kelly?
Carl Edwards is one of those chase drivers that can get through on points alone. When I asked him how much information he wants where the other chase drivers are running, he said, I want to know it all. And crew chief Darian Grubb is usually pretty good at keeping me informed. Well, he's got chase drivers ahead of him and behind him. Right now, Carl's saying a little bit tight through the center in 3 and 4, Mike.
Martin Truex Jr., another guy hoping to be one of the championship 4 in Miami next week, has been pretty happy with the balance of the race car so far. The only thing he's really said is we've been a little bit loose into turn number 1. Marty?
Mike, is Jeff Gordon peaking at the right time? Well, he has 5 straight top 10s. That's the longest streak in the series right now. He said his car a little bit too tight. The leaders are pitting here in about 4 or 5 laps. Mike?
Paul Menard has been to Phoenix 17 times. His best finish has been 9th. Right now, he's in a position where he could possibly turn in a career best finish here at Phoenix, running inside the top 10 most of the afternoon so far. Tight center, free off, but otherwise pretty good, Dave.
And the 11 of Denny Hamlin right behind him. He said, I still can't be confident putting down the throttle off of turn 2. That's their biggest issue. Kelly?
Last week, Brad Keselowski led on 312 laps, yet couldn't get the win. His crew chief Cole Wolf said, yeah, we're a little bit frustrated, but we've had to get over it, move on. They felt like they could get the win here. They've cracked into the top 10, Dave.
And Kurt Busch has cut his deficit more than in half since that last restart. Right now, it's a little bit tight through the center and loose off the corner, but pretty good for the 41. Mike?
And Joey Logano, it appears, is headed down pit road at this time. Right now, going to try to fix him up a little bit. He just lost a spot. He had lost his turn a little bit throughout the course of that run. That had been a major concern of Todd Gordon's. We mentioned he studied videotape in the spring, and they wanted to work on that. Going to work on the right side tires right now. An air pressure adjustment, a 4-tire change for Logano, and 2 cans of Sunoco race fuel. Meanwhile, Dale Earnhardt Jr. now on pit road. They worked on the tight condition last time. They won't make any significant adjustment this time around. I take that back. The wedge adjustment goes there on the left side of that car as they look to help him out with the balance of 4-tire change with Junior. Martin Truex Jr., another one of those guys, came in above the cut line. He's trying to have a run here that will propel him to the championship race in Miami next week. A 4-tire change and a wedge adjustment on the 78 car. Martin Truex Jr., Sunoco race fuel as well. Kelly?
Carl Edwards at the end of that run thought he might have a tire problem. He said the car was driving funny and the crew was ready for him, but other than that, he said he's a little bit loose off of 3, 4 tires for the 19, Marty.
Kevin Harvick, your leader in. As you see, Kelly, it's going to be 4 Goodyear tires for him. He said he's sliding the rear end of the car much more on that run than he was the first run. Left side wet adjustment for Kevin Harvick, trying to tighten up that race car. Jeff Gordon also on pit road. He said his car a little too tight in the middle of 3 and 4. And at the end of that run, it ramped up about 3 notches, he said, on the tight. 1 round out of the left rear for Kevin Harvick, or for Jeff Gordon, Dave.
Kyle Busch gives up 4th place. He'll get a 4-tire change this time. And a wedge adjustment. You see the wrench going in the window there. A fill of Sunoco fuel. Goodyear tires all the way around for Kyle.
Using a little bit of strategy, Kyle Busch staying out to lead a lap, as did Brad Keselowski. Every point matters. You earn a point for leading a lap. Dave.
Kurt Busch raced his way up to 11th on that run. It'll be an air pressure and a wedge adjustment for him this time. Remember, he was losing most of his speed off of turn 4. That's what the driver and the team reason. And as the wrench goes in the back window, he'll get those 4 Goodyear tires and that full load of Sunoco fuel to get into the next stop.
Kurt Busch, after serving a penalty at the start of the race for jumping the start, has been able to battle back and running in the top 15, even the top 10.
Easy here, easy, happens quick.
Brad Keselowski making his way onto pit road now. Keselowski will be heading toward Kelly Stavast on pit road. Kelly.
And Brad stayed out a lap longer than they initially planned. He didn't hear the call to come down pit road. It was a little late, so 1 more lap out there. He said the car does not stay with him long. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment. Brad said, I hope that'll fix it. It'll be 4 tires for the 2 car. And earlier, he was a little bit worried about his brakes. He said his brake pedal was a little bit soft. They were worried his rotors were going too much. The team said not any more than anyone else. So they also made a chassis adjustment on that 2 car.
A little over 14-second stop for Brad Keselowski. 2 fast entering pit road was the 6 of Trevor Bayne, so they will have to serve the penalty. David Reagan cycling through as the race leader in the 55. And there are a few cars still to make their way onto pit road. Now it's just David Reagan that hasn't stopped. David Reagan, J.J. Yaley, Ryan Preece, drivers that are hoping for a caution. And because that hasn't happened, David Reagan making his way onto pit road now. That will relinquish the lead back to Kevin Harvick. Harvick, Joey Logano, Dale Earnhardt Jr. recycling back up to the top 3. Carl Edwards is 4th, Jeff Gordon 5th, Paul Menard is 6th. Martin Truex Jr. 7th, Denny Hamlin 8th. Kyle Busch is 9th. Brad Keselowski has just dropped back to 11th. Jimmy Johnson got by him for 10.
And Rick, on that round of green flag pit stops, the 18 of Kyle Busch, their team lost a lot of time. They had a long pit stop over 18 seconds, came in 4th, came back out 9th. A team that we normally see gain time on green flag pit stops. Kyle Busch is known getting on and off pit road. Had a little trouble in the pit stop.
We mentioned at the top of the show, if you want to make it into the championship, especially the 7 drivers that are fighting for the 3 spots, you can't make mistakes either on the track or on pit road.
Logano and his team, they pitted earlier than everybody else. A few laps earlier than Kevin Harvick. That enabled them to cut into Kevin Harvick's lead. They put fresher tires on before Harvick, and that saved him a little bit of race time, a little bit of time on the racetrack. He's down to a 2.5 seconds now.
And if this race already isn't intense enough, Rick, we're 127 laps into a 312-lap race, but rain has been in the area all day, and as we look at the radar, there's some showers starting to pop up. As a crew chief, I'd be concerned. As long as it took to dry the track today, I believe a rain shower this late in the evening, if we're past halfway, could end the race. This is going to ramp up the intensity as we get closer to the lap 160.
It did take quite a long time for this track to get dry. We look at Joey Logano. Joey Logano just 0.7 of a second behind race leader Kevin Harvick, trying to do all he can to get up front and win in Phoenix. Dale Earnhardt Jr. behind him. Earnhardt Jr. with a little debris on the grill. Kevin Harvick adding to laps led at Phoenix, 79 already. Tonight's aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. Everything we learned making tires for the grueling demands of NASCAR inspires what we roll into yours. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. Kevin Harvick has been up front 85, now 86 laps. Jimmy Johnson has led the second most amount of laps at 44. Joey Logano a second and a half behind Kevin Harvick. On pit road, the 18 of Kyle Busch, a little longer stop. Dave, how come?
Yeah, you guys talked about that during the last segment. And when he came down pit road, he pitted just a little bit too close to the wall. Now that jack handle is long and it needs room to work. So the jackman has to then angle the car. Watch when he comes around to the left side of the car. He'll have to put just a little bit of angle on it in order to get in there, and that slows him down. You can see he was actually, tire changer was sitting on the wall, but look how he has to take those little pumps instead of that one pump to get the car up in the air. That's where the time was lost for the 18, and he fell back about 3 positions.
Steve, is there a mandatory length on the handle of the jack? I mean, can you have it a little bit shorter?
It's as strong as your jackman can be. You need the leverage. It's simple leverage. These jacks lift the car a tremendous amount, almost 10 inches in one pump. But there's only so much hydraulic help you can have. So depending on the size and the strength of your jackman, you have to adjust the length of that handle. By the looks of that, though, they about didn't have room for a bottle jack. So I'm not sure that the length of the handle made a difference.
Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano, 1 and 2. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is 3rd. Carl Edwards running 4th now, Kelly.
And I told you earlier that he likes to know just where the other chase drivers are running. Well, for the first time in this race, he's asked to be filled in on the point situation.
As of right now, we're out by 5 points. You're pulling away from the 78, so 18 in front of us, negative 58. Still ahead of us in points back.
And with Carl now running 4th, obviously the only way he can make up those points is to win unless the 78 of Truex drops a few more positions. But it just goes to show you how aware he is of getting into that championship round.
And all the drivers, all 7 drivers, focusing on what they need to do to get into the championship 4 in Miami. 141 laps complete of the 312 scheduled, but Steve, as you mentioned, the possibility exists that there could be precipitation in the area, so drivers, crew chiefs will be looking at that as well. Kevin Harvick pulling away from Joey Logano. It's over 2 seconds now, and Joey Logano needs a win at Phoenix if he wants his championship to stay alive. Tuesday, the Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon welcomes Jeff Gordon and the 3 drivers who will compete for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Championship in Miami. Who's going to join the 4-time champion? We're going to find out soon. It's the Tonight Show. It's all new Tuesday, 11:35 p.m., 10:35 p.m. Central on NBC. Kevin Harvick out front now has led almost 100 laps. Time now for the Toyota driver update. Carl Edwards, highest scored Toyota in 4th. Carl Edwards being told he is still outside the cut line as far as that championship. Kyle Busch running 7th, Denny Hamlin 8th, and Eric Jones 13th. More on Carl Edwards in the 19. Kelly.
Rick, he's been really relaxed this weekend. He said, I think this part of the season is the most fun. You get a race against the best drivers in the world at their best under all this pressure. I think it's fun. I think it's interesting to watch how everyone else responds to that pressure. Well, right now, Carl's saying that his car is much better now that they made adjustments on that last round of pit stops, but still has 5 points to make up if he's going to get to Miami, Dave.
Kyle Busch came into today's race, actually tonight's race, the best of any of the drivers who need to get to Miami on points. He's currently still 9 points to the good, but he needs to run well. And yesterday's dominating win in the Xfinity Series gave him confidence that he already had here, but proved again that he knows how to get around the Phoenix International Raceway. As for Denny Hamlin, it's been a slow climb in a good way from 13th starting position. Every time he's picked up, every race run, he's picked up a position or 2. He's picked him up on pit stops. Currently running 8th. Hamlin is moving toward the front.
Denny Hamlin made up 5 positions since the start of the race, running 8th. Kevin Harvick out front. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by National Mortgage Lender, Quicken Loans, Home Buy, Refi, Power. Sprint, proud sponsor of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, and by Toyota. Let's go places. Welcome back to Phoenix International Raceway and the Quicken Loans 500 Race for Heroes for the Sprint Cup Series, the penultimate race in the 2015 season. They have passed the halfway point. If rain would come now and NASCAR wouldn't feel that they could complete the race. It would be official once you have passed the halfway point. Kevin Harvick has led 109 of the 159 laps that have been run. And some of the crew chiefs are already looking at the weather and looking at the radar. This is what the 41 had to say to Kurt Busch just moments ago.
We got a small band of rain about 12 miles out, and then a big one about an hour out. 10-4.
Not a lot a driver can do, though, in this situation. Kurt Busch running 10th. If rain does come, there's not a lot of things that a driver can do. There's not a lot that you can do as a crew chief unless a caution would come out and you could try some type of strategy by maybe staying out on the racetrack, expecting that rain.
Yeah, you know, what's so difficult is when you go under green, it's not that difficult. But if we get a caution, then it really puts the teams and drivers in a tough spot, because some guys may want to stay out and try to win a race by staying out in the rain. If you pit under green, you don't want to be the first one on pit road probably, because then if it does rain, then that disadvantages you. So under green, it's not as difficult, but if the caution comes out, that does make it more difficult.
Yeah, and you see here the radar. Phoenix International Raceway is in the center of all those circles. Those are basically miles, giving the crew chiefs an idea of how far they're away. There's some small cells close, but this big cell out here, this is the concern of everybody. You heard Tony Gibson tell Kurt Busch he thought it was about an hour away. The concern is if just a spot shower hits us, as long as it's taken to dry this racetrack today, it might delay it long enough for the larger cell to get here. There's really no telling how long it could rain then.
And just one more difficult call for the team. So with all this pressure on the line, all the things that are on the line to go along and go to Miami, win a championship, now you have to deal with weather. So it just keeps getting more difficult.
The sense of urgency continuing to ramp up. For more updates, Mike Massaro.
And nobody feels that urgency more perhaps than Joey Logano and the 22 team. They know they absolutely have to win, doing almost everything they need to do, although they're not quite out front yet, trailing Kevin Harvick. Logano saying the car is getting tight center and a little bit more free off, and it's getting worse and worse as this run goes on, Marty.
When I talked to Alan Gustafson this morning, he said, you know what, we need a little more speed in this 24 car. Well, I think they found it. Jeff Gordon up in 5th, but he said the car has recently fallen off in the middle part of the run here. He said it's gotten really tight. He said, I'm up on the track bar as far as I've been all night long, Dave.
Kurt Busch hopes for another pit stop to bring the air pressures back up in the 41's front tires. They took them down this time, and Kurt said it took too long for them to come in. If we have a short run or a late race restart, they need to be higher. Kelly?
Track is known as a tough place to pass. So after Brad Keselowski qualified 18th, his crew chief Paul Wolf told me they'd have to find a way to get really aggressive on pit road to gain track position, but then they'd have to have the speed to go with it. Well, right now, Brad's saying it's just a monster right now. I can't do anything. I'm better on the long runs because I can't even touch the steering wheel on the short run. Just too loose to start Brad right now, running 12.
You heard about Jeff Gordon and his team. You know, I think they have to be pretty happy running 5th. If you look at the points as they run right now on the left, that'd be the second highest running car that you're going to be racing against for the championship. So I think that's the kind of momentum after a win in Martinsville, coming here and having a good run. I think that's what they need. They need momentum going into Homestead and feeling like they have a shot to win that race. I think that'll go a long way to their opportunity to win in the championship.
Jeff Gordon getting by the 16. Greg Biffle. Kevin Harvick continuing to run up front with Joey Logano chasing behind. The reason Joey Logano is in the position he is in, he's had 2 bad races. Martinsville followed up by Texas. He's got to get up front. He has to be in front of Kevin Harvick if he wants to have a chance at the title in Miami. NASCAR fans, here's your chance to celebrate the end of another spectacular race season with all the stars of NASCAR in Las Vegas during Champions Week. For more information, visit NASCAR.com/Vegas. Let's take a look at the McDonald's. Who are you loving?
Well, without a doubt, it's going to be Kevin Harvick. Strong as usual as Phoenix. So far led 124 laps tonight.
And Joey Logano in a must-win situation did not have a good weekend until tonight. Much improved from practice. And Jimmy Johnson had a penalty speeding on pit road. He's recovered. He's now running 7th.
3 drivers that you're loving. The 18 of Kyle Busch, and that team also keeping their eye on the weather. Here's what they had to say on the radio.
What you see down there, I'm hearing rain 4 miles out.
Yeah, there's rain in the area for sure, but who knows how long it's going to last, you know? And I don't know if they're going to keep us here till 2 in the morning. I have no clue.
I hope not. I got a 1:40 flight.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to make a 1:40 flight if you stayed here until 2 in the morning.
No, and where the 18's running currently, I think they would be a fan of saying enough's enough. But you hear their teammate Carl Edwards, as you see on the left of your screen, who's 3 points behind. He's probably a fan, if it does rain, to drive this thing and keep going.
We saw Kevin Harvick passing Austin Dillon. There are only 13 cars in the lead lap right now. That's the kind of pace that Kevin is setting. So you have Eric Jones, who's running 13th. And Keselowski is 12, so Keselowski's going to need to get moving. Harvick is just flying. He has put this many cars a lap down already.
That cut line for the drivers that will advance to Miami for the championship 4, 3 points separating the 19 of Carl Edwards and the 78 of Martin Truex Jr. Right now, there are 3 positions in between Carl Edwards and Martin Truex Jr. If Martin Truex Jr. continues to drop back, or if Carl Edwards can gain a couple spots, then that cut line goes away. And you've got 2 drivers that could end up tied, and the tiebreaker goes to the best finish in this round between those 2 drivers. As you mentioned, a blistering pace set by Kevin Harvick. Eric Jones, the last car on the lead lap, running 13th. Kurt Busch is running 10th, and Jeff just moments ago, hands full.
Yeah, Kurt's having to push his car really hard. He's got himself up to 10th, but kind of stalled out. You see him coming off turn 4, gets really loose, has to chase it up to the wall. Did a nice job. He has to push hard. You can see him send the throttle, gets loose. That's just running hard.
And an impressive save. Here's what they had to say on the radio.
I say just try to save a little bit of fuel if you can, if you get a chance, because these guys have to pit. We can stay out as long as we can here, and maybe this rain will hit. So just take care of some fuel here.
How about that? Now thinking about saving fuel.
We talked about at the top of the show, aggression. It's not only behind the wheel, it's on top of the pit box. Tony Gibson looking at every opportunity to get this 41 into Miami. He thinks that perhaps he's running in 10th. That does him no good. Even if he overtakes Denny Hamlin for 9th, he's still outside of the opportunity to race next week for a championship. Tony Gibson, he's turning over every stone possible to try to get his team a win.
And remember, he pitted on lap 121. Harvick pitted on lap 119. Logano on 117. So there's a few extra laps of fuel that they had because they pitted later when they first pitted on the green.
And now the gamble begins. Do you try to save fuel, slow down, and hope that the rain comes and you're able to be out front? Kevin Harvick out front right now. Only one caution has come out tonight as we look at the longest green flag stretch of the season, presented by Sprint. 142 laps and counting. For the season earlier, it was Dover at 109 laps and Talladega at 132. Now it's 142, now 143 as they continue to click laps off for the longest green flag stretch this season. Follow Miss Sprint Cup on Twitter now for a chance to win an autographed hat from tonight's Victory Lane. And could it be Kevin Harvick that would be in Victory Lane? Marty?
Rick, a lot happening down here on pit road. The leaders will come in about 5 to 6 laps for green flag stops. And there's also a big debate on team radios about whether or not this rain in the area is going to hit us. Rodney Childers told Kevin Harvick, I think it's going to miss us. Other teams have said it's coming in about 5 minutes. So a lot of drama building down here with green flag stops coming. Could be very interesting in the next 10, 15 minutes.
Marty, I could understand the confusion on pit road for the radar. Jeff, you and I have 2 different radars up here, and one says it's going to rain and one says it isn't. And that's really what it comes down to. These teams all use different either websites or have their own radar provided by the race team. I know how racing the rain is. So it's one thing to race the rain for a win, but these crew chiefs are racing the rain for their season.
I was in a situation one time where we had a person, or an engineer on the pit crew saying it has to be raining, and it wasn't raining. He's like, it has to be raining. The radar showed it, but it was not raining. You just get different views on different radars.
As they run, Carl Edwards 3 points behind. Green flag pit stops are underway once again. Joey Logano again coming to pit road first. He did this on the last green flag stop. Had a good stop and closed the gap on Harvick. Mike.
And one of the keys to tonight's race, Rick, as we've mentioned, is being clean and effective on pit road. So far, the 22 team has been very fast and efficient. Back on pit road, the car's been a little bit tight, gotten tighter as the run has gone on. They'll try to free them up a little bit with air pressure. A 4-tire change also because he said the front tires were very much falling off. He looks for, he's happy to get some fresh rubber. Meanwhile, just in front of him, Martin Truex Jr. comes into his pit stall, and he's looking for fresh rubber as well. Looking for grip. That was Martin Truex Jr.'s only complaint over the course of that run. A 4-tire change and fuel for Martin Truex. Marty?
Mike leader Kevin Harvick hitting pit road. He said the car's just a little bit too loose. Not bad, though, when he gets back to the gas in turns 1 and 2. You're going to see a half round of wedge in the left rear. That's going to tighten that car up just a little bit. Harvick very happy, though, Mike.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. saying the car's been very tight. Needs to be freed up here a little bit. You can see the wedge wrench going in on the right side in that rear window as they make a 4-tire change to the 88. A crash on the track, Rick.
32 of Joey Gase bringing out the caution, and a few cars on pit road.
I don't know what the hell happened there.
Will they be trapped a lap down? Kyle Busch and the 18 team already on pit road before pit road is closed. Pit road is closed when the caution comes out, but if you're already on pit road and doing service, you definitely make sure to continue your service.
It all depends. Right here, it's the 78 don't speed. It's a little bit confusing, Rick, but the rule is very simple. When you're on pit road and the change of flag on the racetrack happens, it goes to caution. You then race the leader to either the start-finish line if you are pitted before the start-finish line, which here at Phoenix are very few pit stalls, or to pit out, which is all the way down in turn 1. So it's 2 separate timing lines for each of pit road. That takes NASCAR time to go through it. It's a little confusing, but what an untimely caution for some of our chase cars.
Garage.
Hard left turn for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. And let's look back at what took place.
See Ricky Stenhouse on the inside of him. They just make contact getting into turn 3. Heavy contact for both cars.
Hard into the outside wall for both drivers. See all the right side damage to the 17 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. They immediately took that car back into the garage. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. was running 16th, not on the lead lap. Carl Edwards had fallen a lap down, and so Carl Edwards will get the free pass to be back on the lead lap. last time they went by the scoring loop, there were only 11 cars on the lead lap, and Harvick and Logano were on the lead lap, even though they had been on pit road for their service. Kyle Busch also scored on the lead lap. There will be 12 cars on the lead lap after Carl Edwards gets the free pass.
Martin Truex Jr. currently 15th, a lap down. When the leaders come to pit road, he would normally get the wave by, but the situation we're going to have to see is where he lines up relative to Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano, and Kyle Busch. But remember, they have completed their service, so they won't come back to pit road. After we see the cars peel off here and come to pit road, we'll be able to see who's left on the track and see what opportunity Martin Truex Jr. has to get the wave around.
Martin Truex Jr. scored a lap down. As you mentioned, you keep your eye on the cars that stayed out on the track. Kelly.
And Brad Keselowski will make his way down pit road. He said that his car had lost some turn off in that run. It was free in and off, and he said it was hard to get going for the first 5 laps. It'll be a 4-tire change air pressure adjustment for the 2-car, Dave.
Kurt Busch said his car was getting free at the end of the run. He'll get a wedge and an air pressure adjustment in his Goodyear tires and a full load of Sunoco fuel, Marty.
Jeff Gordon comes to pit road as the leader. He starts every run a little bit free, but then gets tight the longer he runs. 4 Goodyear tires and an adjustment, Mike.
Jimmy Johnson's only complain a little bit tight center. They make a wedge adjustment on the right side. 4 tires and fuel for the 48.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., another driver that was on pit road before the caution, and we'll reset them when we come back. Welcome back to Phoenix International Raceway, the Quicken Loans 500 Race for Heroes. Still cleaning up the most recent caution between Joey Gase and the 17 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr., putting Joey Gase on the rollback. The 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. is going to end up the leader of this race, Steve.
Absolutely. It's important to have fast race cars. It's also important to have good brakes. The 88 came into pit under a green flag condition. They come into their pit stall. While they're finishing their pit stall, you see in the distance the caution lights are flashing. It's already turned into a caution. They're pitting behind the start-finish line. Right there, the yellow line they crossed, they are now scored to that position relative to the leader. Remember, when the caution comes out, the leader slows down. So the 88 is scored ahead of the leader in that situation right there. They go back on the racetrack. People decide to pit. The 88 has already committed their service. They're now the leader of the race. It all comes down to where they were pitting on pit road.
If they were pitting on the turn 1 side of the start-finish line, they would have to beat the leader to the blend line leaving pit road. So because he was on the turn 4 side of the start-finish line, he races to the start-finish line. If he'd been on the turn 1 side of the start-finish line, he has to beat the leader to the blend line at the exit of pit road.
Another, I'll call it a good break. It could have been better for Martin Truex Jr., but he came in, completed his service, went back onto the racetrack. The caution comes out. Your concern is you're trapped a lap down, which he was. But the 88 is on track behind the 78. See, they're lined up behind the pace car. So when we get one to go, the 78 technically is on the tail end right here. He's in front of the leader. He's a whole lap behind, but in front of the leader. When we get the one to go,
7/8 of a lap behind.
Yeah, 7/8 of a lap. That's right. When we get one to go, the pace car will fall back to the front bumper of the 88. All these cars in front of the 88 will take the wave around. They'll drive around the track, get a lap back, and race from there. So, not a great break for the 78, but at least they weren't trapped this lap down.
And the reason NASCAR does that is because in the past, in the distant past, Dale Earnhardt Jr. as a leader would restart behind every one of these cars. NASCAR wants the leader of the race to be on the front row. So to get the leader on the front row, you have to move all the other cars past the pace car.
There will be drivers taking advantage of the wave around. When we come back, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in front of the field at Phoenix. Sign up for the Quicken Loans Weekly Playoff Grid Challenge for your chance to win weekly prizes, including a Roku 3 streaming player. Find out more at NBCSports.com/Grid Challenge. You know, the more you play, the more chances you have for the grand prize. Quicken Loans will pay your mortgage for a year. Track cleanup continuing for the 32 of Joey Gase. While they clean up the track, we'll take a quick break. Be right back. Quicken Loans Race for Heroes 500. Under the lights, must-win situation. Engines firing up. We're racing in Phoenix.
It looks like we're going to have 3 wide with Joey Logano.
He's got to focus.
The 18.
He has been rolling.
Kevin Harvick on the move.
Kurt Busch is responding.
Has to win in Phoenix. Welcome back. Take a look at that. They've got a fire on top of their RV. Good seat here. Tomorrow, Dan Patrick talks with the Sprint Cup Series race winner from Phoenix International Raceway. Don't miss the Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings, 9 a.m. to noon on NBCSN. Pretty good seat right there in the middle of turns 3 and 4. Marty?
Rick, let's talk to Rodney Childers. The dominant car tonight has been Kevin Harvick, but you sit in second. Rain is coming. What's the sense of urgency right now, Rodney?
Well, we've had a good Budweiser Chevrolet all night. Kevin's done a good job. The guys have done a good job on pit road. I don't know. This situation, you want to win the race, but we'll see what happens here on the restart, do the best job we can, and hopefully move on that next round.
Remember Joey Logano right behind him, so if Kevin Harvick finishes right here, he would advance to that Final Four in Homestead. Mike?
Yeah, the 22 not only wants to win here in Phoenix, they need to win to advance to Miami as a championship contender. With the rain coming, sense of urgency is building. How important is this restart for you guys right now?
I mean, they're all important, but this one's, we've been up there fighting, and from third, you'll see what we can do with it. But 4 cars had good speed, 88 has, and I think we can hang with them, see where we go. Joey's pretty awesome at these restarts.
And we'll be paying attention to that 22 for sure, Dave.
Morning, Adam Stevens told me that he had a 4th or 5th place car, and that was what you needed to advance. You're running 4th. How on plan are you, especially with this weather?
That was before we adjusted on it, Dave. Come on now.
Good job then.
Yeah, the Crispy Camry's been pretty good tonight. Decent. It's all about track position. Gave a little up there on that pit stop, but got a little back with a little good fortune. So Kyle's doing a great job, and everything's going our way right now.
How hard is it to play the radar game here?
It's tough. It's so dry. A lot of it dries up before it hits the ground. There's a lot of mountains that block the view of the radar, so hope we don't get in that situation again.
Good luck. Kelly?
Darian Grubb is crew chief for Carl Edwards. Darian, you still have 5 points to make up. Brother in the area, how much can you get ground and how quickly?
Hopefully 5 spots. That's all we need with the Stanley Toyota. So we're going to go out there and fight hard. We got the lucky dog right there, the way the sequence worked out. So we're going to fight our way up through it.
All right, thanks, Darian. Rick?
We want to take a look at the radar. That has been the topic. Will the rain hit, and when will it hit? And as we look at the radar, right there in the center of those circles is Phoenix International Raceway. It looks as though there's just a really small cell that's about to come in from the southwest. But again, everyone is gambling on the fact that it might rain. They just don't know when it will.
Well, the 19 and the 78 are in a predicament of only 5 points apart. You see the 78 right here passing the pace car, getting his lap back. Well, the 19 was the lucky dog. So the lucky dog has to start at the tail end of the field behind the lead lap cars and the lap down cars. But behind the lucky dog will be the wave by cars, all the cars you just saw. So while Carl Edwards will start at the tail of the original field, Martin Truex Jr. is about the 7th car in line for the wave by. Hard to believe you can run 35 races, and it comes down to how you can get through lap traffic. Both cars are on the lead lap, 5 points apart, trying to find their way to Miami.
They're going to add one more lap before the green flag comes out. So the lights will come back on the pace car.
And I love that. This is so important when it comes to the point. We talk very critically about NASCAR and how they have to manage these races with the emphasis when the points are so important. The 78 has to come back around. Let's get the field set correctly, because we are talking 5 positions between either Carl Edwards or Martin Truex having a chance at a championship.
And so they're being told one more time around now. There's a jet dryer up in turn 3 and 4 that will have to make its way off the track. The only guy safe is the 24 of Jeff Gordon. Jeff Gordon already assured of a spot in the championship 4 in Miami, but who's going to join Jeff Gordon? That's the question. 7 drivers to fill 3 spots that are vacant. Points on the left as they run. Kevin Harvick in front, or in the front row. Dale Earnhardt Jr. will be the race leader, the control car when we come back to the restart zone. Kyle Busch 21 points above the cut line. And then it gets very tight between Martin Truex Jr. and the 19 of Carl Edwards. They're going to add another lap. As you mentioned, Steve, they want to make sure everyone is in the right position as we get ready for this restart. You know, championship weekend on NBC coming up next weekend, live from Miami. Again, Jeff Gordon knows that he's racing for a championship. And there's another championship that will be determined next weekend, the Xfinity Series Championship. Chris Buescher, one of the young stars of NASCAR, looking for his first title, but he's battling against the defending series champion in the Xfinity Series, Chase Elliott.
Rick, another thing that this caution, this ill-timed caution, has done for these chase points is you look at Brad Keselowski currently in 9th. He's 13 points behind Martin Truex Jr. And all day long, it seemed like he didn't have a chance. He must be in a must-win. But now you see Brad Keselowski in 9th. Points available in front of him. With Martin Truex, I know he's the last car in the lead lap, but back in traffic, if something does happen to the 78, the 2 is going to have to start looking at points.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., Kevin Harvick making up row 1. Joey Logano, Kyle Busch, row 2. Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, row 3. Row 4, Kurt Busch, Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski, and Eric Almirola in row 5. A little bit of moisture on the track, what the drivers are reporting, and so we'll go around one more time. We mentioned the sense of urgency. It is continuing to pick up. 100 laps to go from here. The fuel window 85 to 90 laps, and take a look at that. You can see the rain coming down on the lights. There's only been one rain-shortened race here. Back in 1998, Rusty Wallace was the winner of that race. They put the lights back on the pace car. We had showed you the radar just moments ago, just a very small cell that was passing just to the southwest of the racetrack. A little bit of rain, a little bit of precipitation once again. The drivers and the officials all the way around the track will have to determine if the rain has come down and affects this racing surface to the point where they won't get this restarted, and how much rain has actually hit the track. You see the raindrops falling once again. It has been an issue all day at Phoenix.
That's good.
And now once again potentially affecting the end of this race.
Harvick, Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., they'd be good with it. They, you know, let it rain. They want the rain. Everybody else, they want it to get dried back up.
The 4 drivers that are above the cut line are the 4 drivers that started this race in those positions. Martin Truex Jr. right on the cut line. The gap 5 points in front of Carl Edwards. And after the caution came out when a few drivers were on pit road, that put a few drivers in position. Carl Edwards got the wave around, or got the free pass. Martin Truex Jr. had to use the wave around to get back on the lead lap.
I hope they let us race. Can't let it end like this.
And of course, you're going to hear Carl Edwards say we can't let it in like this. Carl Edwards wants to have a chance to race his way into the championship 4. Right now we're under a holding situation as the rain comes to Phoenix. You're watching the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series Quicken Loans Race for Heroes 500. The possibility of a rain-shortened race. One driver who doesn't care if it goes the entire distance or if the rain comes now is the 24 of Jeff Gordon. He has already secured a spot in the Championship 4 in Miami next week. But of the 7 drivers, who will be the 3 that join Jeff Gordon in Miami?
We're riding along with Kevin Harvick. He came in here 3rd in points, but he's been leading the race. Right now he's running 2nd. That's plenty of space to give him enough points to move along to Miami with a chance to win the championship.
You look at the 22 of Joey Logano, disappointing weekend, seemed to lack speed in the car. What they've found it for today, currently running in the 3rd position. This is a driver that does not want to see the rain come. He's worked his way up to 3rd. So many wins this year. He was a must-win situation. He has the chance if they can get the track restarted.
Yeah, Kyle Busch, these guys, they came in 2nd, done a really nice job of managing points. We think about Kyle Busch being an aggressive driver, only cares about winning races, but in this chase, he has managed points very well, came in here 2nd, currently running 4th. That's plenty good enough to move him along.
You go back to 7th for Kurt Busch, who's had great speed, probably the fastest car here all weekend, the talk of the garage. Qualified well, had a penalty on the original start for beating the lead of the start-finish line, recovered well up to 7th, just running out of laps, needs to try to finish this race under green.
And the 2-car Keselowski, these guys came in here pretty much in a must-win situation. If there was a big wreck with a lot of other point guys, maybe they could point their way in, but they have to be thinking about wins. Currently right now, running in 9th, that's not good enough. They've got to find a way to get to the front. They really haven't shown the speed much this weekend. They're going to have to make improvements if the track's able to drive.
Probably the most pressure coming into the weekend was the 19 of Carl Edwards. He entered just below the cut line, has had a great race, ran in the top 5. The problem with him, Martin Truex Jr. has also had a good race. Currently sits 5 points below the cut line. Has to try to outrun Martin Truex Jr.
Yeah, Martin Truex Jr., you just spoke about him. He's down in 14th. But good for him, Carl Edwards is 12th, and that's who he's really racing. So as long as he's able to keep Carl Edwards in his in his windshield and keep him close, he's going to be okay. The question is on these restarts, can Carl pick his way through and pick up some spots? Can Martin keep up with him?
And probably the biggest question is, will we restart? I mean, the precipitation and the rain is in the area. So who will join Jeff Gordon in the Championship 4 in Miami? Let's hear from some of the crew chiefs. We'll start with Marty.
Rick, let's chat with Alan Gustafson as the rain stopped for a moment. It is now picked up again. And what are the chances we get this restarted here, Alan?
I think the rain's going to pick up a little bit according to our radar. You know, it's going to be tough if they lose the track. You know, I don't know the logistics behind it, but it'd take a while to dry. So not sure either way. The Pepsi Chevy's been pretty good tonight. We've had a good race, you know, good car, really good execution on pit road. So either way, we're ready.
Even though you're already locked in the interest of fairness, would you like to see the whole race completed?
Yeah, for sure. You know, we were in situations earlier in the season in the chase where there was some rain and pending weather or you know, darkness in Martinsville and different situations. And I think it's, you know, the most fair thing is the advertised distance. Obviously, there's some things you can't control. I think we all want to do that, but at the end of the day, you know, it might not be in the cards.
To bring the cars down pit road to get the jet dryers on the racetrack, that seems to be the consensus, Dave. We'd love to get the whole distance in tonight.
Well, and I know Tony Gibson needs this rain to go away for Kurt Busch. How bad, huh?
Well, pretty bad. And first of all, I want to say sorry to my wife, Beth, and daughter Lainey that I'm not home already. I figured I'd already be home, but love you guys, and I'll be home soon. But yeah, we want it to go away. I think we've proven we got a car that can win. It's a shame what happened at the start of the race there. But what it is, we got a fast hot rod. We get up there, we got a shot at winning this thing. I'm ready to, I think the track's good, man. I think they need to keep them out there, keep the heat in it, and let's go racing.
Tony, describe the job that Kurt did and that you guys have done as a team coming back from being nearly a lap down after the penalty.
Yeah, everybody kept their cool. You know, Kurt kept his cool, and he's done that all year long. And we served our penalty and rifled back up through there. It just shows the strength of this team. We love our driver. He loves his team. And no matter what happens tonight and going forward, next year we're going to be better and stronger, and look out for these other guys.
Rick Curtis fast, but he's 7th. He basically needs to get up there and win if he's going to move through to Miami.
Yeah, Dave, the red flag is being displayed for the first time tonight because previously we never got to the green flag before the rain came and washed out the track. Now the red flag is being displayed. The drivers are told that they can get out of the car, but they don't want, NASCAR has said, don't venture too far away from the cars. We want to make sure that the jet dryers are out on the racetrack and can try to stay ahead of this very light rain now. They don't want to lose the track, which means that they would have to send all the Air Titans out onto the track, the jet dryers and everyone to try to dry the track once again. But let's go back to pit road and Kelly Stavis.
With Paul Wolf, who calls the shots for the 2 team. You guys had made some ground up out there. If we get this thing back going, how much more can you gain?
Yeah, I don't know, we're slow and steady, but I think we're going to run on laps. The Miller Lite Ford seems to be good on a long run, but it takes us too long to get going. And like I said, with not many laps left, who knows what will happen here with this rain and how strategies play out and if we get back going. But, unfortunately, we're not quite as strong as we want to be, but we haven't given up on it yet. Like I said, there's still a little bit of time left, and who knows what can happen.
What's Brad's demeanor been like over the radio?
He's been good, getting what he can out of the car. And like I said, we've had a couple opportunities to work on it. Can't say we've made any big gains. And the car holds on well, runs good lap times halfway through the run, but we just don't have that speed out of the gate.
All right, well, the 2 car has moved inside the top 10, Mike.
Meanwhile, the 78 of Martin Truex Jr. not inside the top 10. In fact, he's 14th right now, Kelly, catching up with his crew chief, Cole Pern. What are you telling Martin under these circumstances?
We're just trying to stay calm and kind of suck getting caught by that yellow there. But other than that, we're just really, obviously the 4's, or if the 88 is able to pull it off, it's good for us. We're just really racing that gap to the 19 and making sure that's our focus and we're staying calm and hopefully doing everything we can to maintain that gap and make it through.
It appears NASCAR is doing everything they can to dry this racetrack off and get going. I would imagine you appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. I'm ready for it to monsoon and just be over with it. I think all these Dale Jr. fans here deserve a win.
All right, still a smile on the face of the 78 camp despite what's at stake here, guys.
Big smiles on Cole Pern's face when he mentioned, I bet the Dale Jr. fans would be very happy. Well, they would be very happy because as you look at the points on the left of the screen, the 78 is above the cut line. So as they run, they would be a part of the championship 4 in Miami as the rains get heavier once again at Phoenix International Raceway. Welcome back to Jeff Gordon Raceway, Phoenix International Raceway. Jeff Gordon on the top of this list, the chase grid. Jeff Gordon with his win at Martinsville, secured in the championship 4 as they run. Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr. They are above the cut line and would be the championship 4. Joey Logano 52 points back. But you'll notice the 22 is parked on the inside of row 2. He was about to restart in 3rd. And if the restart would have come just a little bit sooner, you wonder how aggressive Joey Logano would have been on that restart before this rain, this deluge is coming down now on the track. It could have been completely different. Let's hear from some of the drivers. We'll go down to Marty.
And Rick, let's chat with Brad Keselowski with our umbrellas out. The rain has picked up a little bit. You told me a minute ago we're done. You don't think we'll get this restarted?
No. You know, it's raining. It's in the desert. It doesn't dry up, but it's raining the hardest it's rained. So I know it's a late night for all the fans at home. Appreciate them staying tuned and watching. Certainly not the day we wanted, but happy for my friend Dale Jr. Looks like he's going to get him one.
Well, if it ends like this is the season that's on the line right now. Is that a fair way to end it?
I don't think it matters what's fair. It matters what entertains the fans, and if the fans are happy, then that's what it's all about.
All right, I want to ask you about your car and how it's been at the beginning part of this race and how it's been lately. Paul said it just takes off so slow, but it's pretty good on the long run.
Yeah, we had the first 5 laps, I just couldn't keep pace, but after that it would come in really well. It's just slowly climb your way forward and can only get so far, but you know, we kept adjusting on it, short race, and who knows, maybe this run we would have had something, but that's not the way it played out.
All right, Brad Keselowski not optimistic that we'll get it going, but I'll be optimistic, Rick. I'm thinking we're going to get it going, Dave.
And Marty, neither was Jamie McMurray when he walked by Kurt Busch and said, yeah, this is a real rain, and Kurt said, I'll put my helmet back on. You need this to go green again, don't you?
Yeah, we're sitting 7th, you know, and in an old chase format, or even the format before the chase started, an average of 7th is good. And that's what we got last week. And it's just tough. You know, we're working our way back up, and now we're in the mix now. So it's just tough. We won't get a chance to try out what we've got for these final 100 miles.
Kurt, the weekend was going so well for you, and then the initial start. Talk us through what you were going through there, and obviously then you had to deal with the penalty.
Yeah, I had no reason to jump the start. I had no reason to get excited. We had 312 laps to go race today. We've had a fantastic season. We won a couple times, sat on 3 poles. Tony Gibson and the guys believed in me, and Haas Automation, Chevrolet, Monster Energy, everybody on this team knew there was a little bit of tarnish, and I had to polish on it, and I did all year long. We worked our way all the way to the final 2 races. Here we are in Phoenix and Homestead next week. I wish it would stop raining so we can get out there and go again.
Even though it is soggy, Kurt Busch optimistic about what's happened so far this season, Kelly.
With Carl Edwards now, who at one point was as close as 3 points behind Martin Truex Jr. It's 5 now. If we get this thing back going, just how aggressive are you going to be early on?
Let's just talk about how quick those Air Titans can dry this thing. They're amazing. I mean, it won't be 30 minutes. We'll be back out there. I hope so badly that we'll get to race. We do not want to finish this like this. We feel like we can get a restart. We've got a really good car. We want to race for sure. I don't care if we do this thing with rowboats or on foot or whatever we got to do. I want to go race.
And do you feel like you have the car to get out there and do it and make up those positions?
Yeah, now that everything's shaken up a little bit, I think we got a really great opportunity with traffic. We've got a great race car. Our Stanley Toyota is pretty good, and it was getting better on longer runs. So we can get it dry. It looks like it's clear behind this. So I hope we get to.
I'll send it up to you, Rick, because it sounds like you know more than we do.
And a disappointed Carl Edwards. You saw the reaction there. NASCAR has called this race official. That means the 88 and Dale Earnhardt Jr. with the amazing luck as he was on pit road as the caution came out, was able to get to the start-finish line before, at the time, the race leader. Everyone came in, did their pit stops. Joey Logano, the luck not on his side in round 3. Chase for the championship. The 88 team already celebrating. Third win of 2015 for Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88 group, and his 26th career win. He's also won at Phoenix 3 times. As you see, all smiles for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Not a Chase driver in round 3. And you look at the Chase grid as they were running. The 4 drivers above the cut line will advance to Miami and run for a championship. Jeff Gordon, Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, and Martin Truex Jr. All with an equal chance when we go to Miami next week. The way it works in Miami, the driver that finish ahead of the other 3 will win the championship. Will it take a win? It did a year ago. Kevin Harvick had to beat Ryan Newman and win the race to win the championship. Let's go to Marty.
You'll never find a guy who leads 143 laps and finishes second happier than Kevin Harvick, because he's clinched. He is in for the Final Four at Homestead. You almost got the trophy. It's literally standing right there. But talk about the day and how dominant the car was, Kevin, and how encouraged that makes you feel going into Homestead next weekend.
Well, you said I was happy. I didn't say I was happy, but just
put the words in your mouth. Yeah, I'll take that credit.
I got to thank everybody on our Budweiser Jimmy John's team for just a really, really fast car. We made great adjustments overnight. Got that little bit of balance that we were looking for from practice, and just the way that the caution fell. I didn't get all my distance back on the racetrack under green, and Dale was able to beat us out. But hey, you win some, you lose some like that, and sometimes you're on the right side of it, sometimes you're on the wrong side of it today. We were on the wrong side of it, but in the end, in the big picture, you're racing for a championship next week. So just really proud of everybody on our team.
Have you ever been through a crazier day than this, just in terms of the weather, when it was going to come, and how this all played out?
I've been through a lot longer rain delays than this one. We sat in Michigan for a few days one time and had to stop because you couldn't see the racetrack because of fog. So, you know, you can't control a lot of these things, and who would have thought you'd come to the desert and it's going to rain. But bring NASCAR anywhere and you'll catch up on your rain.
Talk about all this team has gone through, and you talked about that earlier this weekend, just the adversity this team has dealt with, even in just the chase, now to fight for another championship in the Final Four. What will that mean to this race team after all you've been through this year?
Well, I feel like, you know, we've overcome a lot of things throughout the chase. We've survived and advanced. It hasn't been 100% pretty from one end to the other, but you know, I think as you look at the chase, we've you know, it's been championship material, and that's proven by making it to the championship race. So just really proud of everybody, and we're going to go down there and do just like we've done all year and race as hard as we can.
And the experience of last year, handling those 7 days in Homestead, Miami, what will that mean this year?
It's going to make it a lot easier this year to know what to expect, to know what's coming on the PR side of it, and to know that it's a win, and you're going to win the championship, or you know, beat the other 3 cars and you're going to win a championship. So it's definitely a different type of situation, but you know, at this point you just throw it all out there and go for it.
They certainly dealt with it pretty well last year, winning the championship. Kevin Harvick will fight for another championship in 2015. Rick.
The rain shortened the Phoenix race for just the 2nd time in the history. We're going to hear from race winner Dale Earnhardt Jr. and other drivers when we return on Victory Lap. And welcome back to Victory Lap, as this rain-shortened race benefits Dale Earnhardt Jr. Let's hear from him. He's with Dave Burns.
And Rick, it may seem a little bit muted down here, but I can promise you Dale Earnhardt Jr. was celebrating with a lot of different people that came by to say congratulations to you. You won this race on a weird weekend.
Yeah, it's been pretty weird. First off, we want to say that we're thinking about everybody over in Paris, everybody affected by everything that happened there. It's been amazing the last couple of days seeing the support that at other sporting events and through Twitter and everything. It's been really awesome to see everybody come together, and so that's been on our minds. But you like to win them at the checkered flag. A win's a win, though. You take it and you put it in the records book. My team guys are very very proud of this because they gave me a great car to get a good qualifying effort in. We've qualified so poorly all year, and the reason why we won, I think, tonight is because of how we qualified this weekend. So they're very proud of how fast the car was all weekend and all the practices and in qualifying. So this is something that they're going to enjoy. I'm happy, win's a win, but it is a rain-shortened race, and I know there's some guys in the field that would love to see this thing get going again, to get an opportunity to try to race into the last round. But myself, if I had 4 or 6 inches at Talladega, I'd be going to Homestead, racing for a championship too. So we're all, it works out for some, and some it doesn't.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., it worked out for him tonight. The rains came. He was in front. He wins at Phoenix.
And we want to show you just how he won this race, because it really happened on pit road. Steve?
Yeah, and I think Dale Jr. was correct. They ran up front for most of the day, so it wasn't a complete fluke, but they did a great job, qualified well, that gave them this pit stall. Remember, pit pick is by qualifying, so at lap 195, Dale Earnhardt Jr. comes to pit road under green. While on pit road, the caution comes out. That means Dale Earnhardt Jr. needs to race the leader to the start-finish line. That's where he'll be scored, because that's where he's pitting. He rolls out of his pit stall about 40 or 60 feet right there, crosses the start-finish line. He's then frozen. Jeff Gordon, the leader of the race at this time, because we were in a pit cycles over in turn 3. Dale Earnhardt Jr. rolls down pit road at a cautious pace, does the speed, blends on the racetrack in front of Kevin Harvick and everyone else, and makes the 88 the leader. The rains come. A win for the 88. I agree with Dale Jr. They qualified well. They ran up front. The rules are the rules. They're the same for everybody. One more reason why you have to pick pits and understand where they come.
The other factor in this is that Greg Ives was willing to stay out a few laps later than the leaders when they pitted. He was willing to give up a little bit of speed on those new tires to potentially catch a caution, to potentially catch those guys, on pit road. So willing to gamble a little bit by staying out a few laps later and using the track position they earned by running well. Those two things together are why they won this race.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. will celebrate his win here at Phoenix International Raceway with Sunoco Fueling victories. And we look at the results. Dale Earnhardt Jr., Kevin Harvick, 1 and 2. Kyle Busch, Jeff Gordon, still in yellow because they will be a part of that championship 4 in Miami. Martin Truex Jr., the 4th driver that advances and stays in the chase for the championship. With the rain coming out and only 219 laps complete, NASCAR calling the race. The grid is now complete. After starting with 16 drivers with a chance to win the title, it has been whittled down to 4. Jeff Gordon, Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr. have worked their way through 3 rounds to get to the final round, the championship 4. And we go now to a disappointed Joey Logano, who's with Mike Massaro.
Well, Joey Logano came into the Phoenix race Sunday knowing exactly what he needed to do to advance to the championship race in Miami. He needed to win the race, and while you were certainly in position to do so before the rain came out, running 3rd, what are your thoughts on the way this thing ended?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's we can't help the weather, right? It's just, God didn't have it in his cards for us tonight. But, I'm still super proud of what this team's done, this Pennsylvania team, and all year, of super fast race cars, really produced on the racetrack, executed our plan. Once again, it's a high-pressure race for these guys, and to see us drive to the front, have good pit stops, like I said, all night, just didn't work out, overall, like I said, I couldn't be more proud of what we've done this year. We still got one more race to win. Our heads are still high, and like I said, it's been a great season. I don't have much to say bad about anything. It's just, I just wanted another shot at it, and when you're this close to seeing the lead, and you just want one more restart, and I was hoping that they got that wreck cleaned up fast enough to just try to get one more shot at it. But congratulations to Junior and those team. It's cool for them. Just dang it, I wish I had another restart.
Had that green flag come back and you got that restart, what were you expecting?
Do whatever I got to do, try to win the race, and that's, it's hard to play the race with rain in the area, right? You don't know what's going to happen, but you just hope there's another shot. You hope that there's a restart and two of them slip up and you're able to put a 3-wide bottom or do something like that. But just didn't ever have the opportunity there at the end. But we had plenty of opportunity to try to get ourselves to the front. We just weren't as fast as the 4. We were a solid second-place car. We just Junior timed it out really well when they pitted to that caution, and it worked out really well for them.
No doubt Joey Logano gave it everything he had in Phoenix, just came up a couple positions shy.
Yeah, Joey Logano, a great season, just as you mentioned, coming up a bit short. 6 wins on the 2015 season, but he will not have a chance to race for the championship, and it all unfolded on a very, I guess I would say, an uncharacteristic day for the desert, because it started off in a situation where we had to wait for 6 hours before the start of this race because of rain. But then, Martin Truex Jr. in a position to where he had to stay above the cut line, and he was able to do it. Martin Truex Jr., an impressive run here in this final race of round 3.
He had to pit on the green. Obviously, he pitted here, is on the green. Caught this caution, which could have spelled bad luck for him, as it turned out, the 19 car was sort of on the same sequence as they were. He got the pass over the free pass. The 78 also put them both in the back of the pack. He was racing Carl Edwards. That was really the only guy he was racing. They were both in the same scenario, so that all worked out.
And Mike Massaro's with him.
And you can see the big smile on Martin Truex Jr.'s face. You did it. You're going to Miami as a championship contender. What's this mean to you?
It means everything to us. I mean, just what can I say about the whole team and everybody at Furniture Row Racing, everybody back at the shop in Denver. Dream come true for us. I mean, really proud of what we accomplished this year, and to be able to put 9 really good weeks together was just awesome. So got a little nervous there when the caution came out on us tonight, but all in all, we did what we had to do, and Homestead's a really good racetrack for me, and that's our kind of racetrack with this team. So really excited about next week and the opportunity to do something special. And this is the kind of thing you dream about since you're a little kid. And having a shot to win a Sprint Cup Series championship is just awesome. And I'm looking forward to the opportunity.
Put this in perspective for us. We talked a little bit about your underdog status, but we can't ignore the fact that you went through some personal turmoil last year. In the grand scheme of things, how much of a triumph is this for you?
It's a big one. It's a real big one. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? And we've been through a lot, Sherry and I. Been through a lot with this race team, and we all stuck together. Barney Visser, said at the end of last year, hey, if you need to take some time off to spend time with Sherry and get her healed up, go ahead. And that was extra motivation for me to go out and do a better job. And they gave Cole Pern the ropes or the reins, so to speak, and let him take over the team, and what a job he's done. It's been just such a pleasure to work with him. He's been so much fun, and he gives me a lot of confidence behind the wheel and gives me hot rods to drive, and it's just been a lot of fun this season. So looking forward to continuing it on, and we're not done yet, so next week's going to be a big weekend, and there's a big opportunity there for us to do something special, like I said, and hopefully we can seize the moment.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You heard him say, Rick, we're not done yet. Seems like the team mantra. Cole Pern told me that a week ago.
And he mentioned the personal issues between Sherry Pollux, his longtime girlfriend, who's battling ovarian cancer. So not only fighting that issue, but also trying to win a championship in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Here are the final 4. the championship 4 that will race for a title in Miami in 1 week. Jeff Gordon, Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, and Martin Truex Jr. On the other side of the break, more Victory Lap with Krista Kyle and DJ from Phoenix.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.